Good evening. You are watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. The United States airstrike the Daesh group targets in Afghanistan. Iraq hosts a regional meeting aimed at easing Middle East tensions and supporting dialogue for solving the crisis in the region. And the real estate trading value in the Sultanate by the end of July 2021 exceeds 1.5 billion Omani riyals. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. The United States military has struck back at the Daesh group in Afghanistan, acting on President Joe Biden's vow to hit the extremists in the retaliation for a suicide bombing that killed as many as 169 Afghans and 13 American service members at Kabul airport on Thursday. A U.S. Central Command said a drone strike targeted the Daesh group's planner in the eastern province of Nangarhar today. It said initial indications were that the target was killed. Biden said he'd strike back at the group's Afghanistan affiliate. Britain's Defence Ministry said that the final UK evacuation flight for Afghan nationals has left Kabul, as the country's ambassador announced that it's time to close this phase of the operation. The UK military said further flights over the weekend will bring home British troops and diplomats, though they may also carry some remaining UK or Afghan civilians. Italy's final evacuation flight of refugees from Afghanistan has landed at Rome's Leonardo da Vinci airport. The Italian Air Force plane with 58 Afghan citizens abroad arrived this morning. Also aboard were Italy's consul and a NATO diplomat who had coordinated evacuations at the Kabul airport. Italy's remaining soldiers left on a separate flight from Kabul on Friday night. That Air Force flight went to Kuwait and the troops are due back in Italy early next week. Iraq's President Barham Saleh reaffirmed his nation's ties with France today as his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron visited the country. French President Emmanuel Macron also met with Iraqi Prime Minister Mustafa al-Kadhimi in Baghdad today, ahead of a regional conference aimed at easing tensions in the Middle East and emphasizing the Arab country's new role as a mediator. Among the invitees are Iran and Saudi Arabia, whose rivalry has often played out in Iraq and other countries, including Yemen and Lebanon. Saudi Arabia said it would be represented by its foreign minister, Prince Faisal bin Farhan. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, Jordan's King Abdullah, and Qatar's Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani also arrived in Baghdad for the meeting. India has given more than 10 million COVID-19 jabs in a single day for the first time, as the South Asian giant blusters its defenses for a predicted new surge. The Health Ministry said that the 10 million landmark was passed yesterday, beating the country's previous daily record of 9.2 million. The government has been stung by criticism after a brutal coronavirus wave in April and May killed more than 200,000 people. The government had aimed to vaccinate about 1.1 billion adults by the end of the year, but shortages, administrative confusion, and hesitancy have held back the numbers. Only around 15% have had 2 doses since the drive began in January. India is currently administering 3 vaccines: the Oxford AstraZeneca jab, known locally as Covishield, Covaxan by Indian firm Bharat Biotech, and the Russian-made Sputnik V. At least 16 people were killed in a factory fire yesterday in Pakistan's largest city and financial hub, Karachi, raising questions about the industrial safety in the country. The fire broke out at a multi-story chemical factory in the eastern part of the city, and most windows of the factory were blocked. Many factory workers died after being trapped on the second floor in the fire, which broke out on the ground floor of the factory. Over 260 workers were burnt alive when a multi-story garment factory was set on fire on September 2012 in what became the deadliest industrial blaze in Pakistan's history. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. In the governorate of Burimi, the public awareness regarding immunization against COVID-19 played a great role in increasing the number of those vaccinated in the governorate. Meanwhile, the bodies concerned in the governorate urge all to take the vaccine to contribute in limiting the impacts of COVID-19 pandemic as well as protecting themselves and the community from this virus. It's worth mentioning that school students are also getting vaccinated in the governorate of Burimi as the new academic year will start next September. The Ministry of Labor organized in cooperation with the Ministry of Education a training program for 119 female teachers. The program will last for 6 months, targeting female graduates of Bachelor in Education for preschool children and early education to provide the trainees with the teaching knowledge and skills in the field of Islamic education, Arabic language, and social studies in a way that meets the teaching requirements for students of the first circle from grade 1 to grade 4. It also seeks to equip them with skills in using educational platforms, online education, and some educational and administrative issues. The total traded value of real estate activity amounted to more than 1.5 billion Omani riyals at the end of last July, recording an increase by 28.8% compared to the same period last year. The initial statistics issued by the National Center for Statistics and Information pointed out that the collected fees for all legal transactions at the end of last July amounted to 45.2 million riyals. The traded value of sale contracts increased by 55%, recording more than 680 million Omani riyals. Muscat Stock Exchange registered last week the best value for tradings in 5 weeks at 17.9 million Omani riyals, increasing by 76% compared to its level a week ago. The number of executed deals increased to 2,320 deals, recording its best level in 4 weeks. The rise came amid attention of investors to increase their investment portfolios before the announcement of financial results for the third quarter of the current year next October. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's news bulletin, here are the main points once again. The United States airstrike the Daesh group targets in Afghanistan. Iraq hosts a regional meeting aimed at easing the Mideast tensions and supporting dialogue for solving the crisis in the region. And the real estate trading value in the Sultanate by the end of July 2021 exceeds 1.5 billion Omani riyals. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios is good night and stay safe.